Hey yo, salute to all my subscribers. Shout out to everybody else passing through. YouTube, what's good? So, I started this series, Gender Wars, a while back because I often troll social media like all y'all know by now who follow my page. Um, because there's a lot of contradictory, double standard shit that goes on between, the two genders. And typically, I'll troll social media and I'll see different posts pertaining to men and women in relationships and different things that go on. And it's always funny how, these double standards apply, differently in different situations. Usually, but not always, the men get the short end of the stick. So I'm trolling social media literally minutes ago. And one of my close friends was talking about how when men are trying to focus on them and their career and building up, their lives for themselves, and they have a few different women here and there that they will deal with, but no strings attached kind of situation. It's just looked at as men just being men. But then he posed the question, how come when women do it and they say, yo, I'm just focusing on my career right now, but they'll typically have, a man or two or maybe three that they'll talk to on and off, and that they might deal with physically, but they don't want any strings attached, and they say they're just focusing on their career, just doing them. But that seems to be respected. It seems to be, a salute going on for ladies who engage in that type of activity. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is, how come it's looked at differently when the same answer is given by a woman? It's respected, but when a man does it, it's oh, men are just dogs and that's just what men do, generally speaking. Now, I can't really answer the question, so I'm posing it to my subscribers and anybody else passing through, my future subscribers. I've always been a relationship oriented type of individual, and my shortest relationship was for a year, and I was a teenager, and I haven't been in the dating pool for 10 years now. Having said that, though, I don't really know what that whole thing is about, because 10 years is a lifetime, especially when you're talking about society and the direction that society has moved in with social media and the emergence of all the platforms and dating apps, where it's easier now to meet new people and engage in on and off relationships, or whatever situations that are more convenient for people who aren't really looking for a serious relationship. So I can't really speak on it. What I think is that the generalization is that typically women are relationship oriented, and that because of all the games that go on and all of the things that have been done over the years to different women, they get to a point where they're trying to focus on them, and they don't really want to deal with the games and the headaches of investing in another dude another time. And so they just figure, I'm gonna focus on me, and whoever comes along, if I like or vibe with that person, it is what it is for right then and there, but I'm focused on me. And I feel like when men do it, it could be legitimate. You just want to get your shit together and focus on you, but at the same time, we all have needs. But why it's not respected when men do it, that part I really don't know. I feel like a lot of these double standards, regardless of if it's to the detriment of men or to the detriment of women, I feel like these double standards, we need to start chopping these things down, because you really got to start judging the situation by the individual that's involved in that situation. Not all men are dogs. Not all men just want to play games and jump from female to female, but you have some men out here that do, and that's what gives the rest of us a bad name. But you also have some men who are, especially if you're in your mid-30s, you're really at a point where you're just trying to kind of build your empire and focus on getting everything right for you. So you're not trying to be distracted with a relationship or anything of that nature. I feel like for those men who are in that situation and that's the decision that they make, then more respect to you. I got no problems with it. I think the problem is with y'all fellas is that you take that mind state, but at the same time, you're not necessarily upfront about it with the person that you're dealing with. See, I feel like you got to approach it as, if you don't want to be in any type of relationship, then let that be known from the beginning. And then if the person who you're dealing with decides to get overly involved mentally or emotionally, then that's on them, because you were upfront with them. I feel like the problem is not just the double standards. The problem is the communication is not what it should be. If you meet someone and you're presenting yourself to them as if you are interested in a relationship, but you know you're really not, and then that person gets attached or gets overly involved, you really don't have anybody but yourself to blame for that situation. And I'm gonna need all my fellas, and I apologize, but I'm gonna need all my fellas to step up and really start communicating better, with these females that y'all get involved with. And, I think if more men start to take the responsibility of doing that, then I think slowly, the a lot of the double standards that go against so many men and that even the good men do have to suffer from, I think those things will start to subside. Now, ladies, I hate to do this, but I got to keep it real. That's the whole premise of this platform. That's what I'm here to do. And right, wrong, or indifferent, agree or disagree, like it or love it or hate it, I'm going to always come through and give my real opinion about how I really feel about whatever the situation is. I'm going to defer to something that's going to sound a little bit antiquated. Maybe it's going to sound a little bit old-fashioned, but ladies, here's the thing. And Steve Harvey touched on this in his book a few years back, Think Like a Man. A man is not going to ever be ready to settle down, get into a relationship, build a family, focus on you, and be ready to stop playing games until they feel like they're in a position within their lives that they have everything else figured out. For the most part, most men, want to be in a situation where they're kind of well-rounded and fully sustained and whatever the foundation, of, the goals and everything that they have set out for their lives. And what happens is, and this is what I think is common, men as they get into their early and mid-20s, that's more of the playing game stage, not all men, but for most. And then you'll see a period of maybe men will try to be serious and settle down, and then the situation might not go right for them. But what happens is, and this is the part that I'm referring to Steve Harvey's book, if a man is not ready to settle down because he feels like there are goals that he's trying to achieve, there are things that he's trying to accomplish, it doesn't matter how dope you are, it doesn't matter how much of a good girlfriend or wife material you could be, if he's just not ready and in that point in his life, it's just not going to happen. And it doesn't matter. You could be Mother Teresa. You can't convince that man to be ready for that type of relationship. And I know that because the countless number of men that I speak to, they're real about it. But here's the problem, and I go back to y'all fellas. You'll be real about those situations with your boys, but you won't necessarily be real about it with the person that you meet or the person that you're dealing with. And there's some men who are, and I think ladies have to start taking responsibility too, because there are men out here that are letting y'all know that straight up and straightforward, whether it be verbally or whether it be with their actions from jump. Because in my book, Relationship Etiquette, which hasn't dropped yet, but it's coming soon, I talk about how we all give off signs. I don't care if you're male, female, if you're heterosexual, homosexual. I don't care what your preference is, what your gender is. I don't care how you identify. We all give off signals and signs, and we all communicate in some way, shape, or form what our intentions are. But I feel like the person who is receiving the communication is either not tuned into it or feel like you could be that person that might change that person's mind. You can't do it. You can't change a person. A person's only going to be willing to change when they're ready to do that. And this is the big reason why I don't agree with a lot of these double standards, because you can't associate a whole gender with how some people feel and how some people move. Because it's all about the individual. I mean, I think miscommunication is the biggest issue. It's not gender. It's not who's ready to commit and settle down. It's not any of that. It's communication. If people who have certain intentions from Jump Street communicated that clearly and effectively, we wouldn't have any issues. And then for the people who are communicating that, whether it be through their words or through their actions, then the people who are on the receiving end of those words or actions, if you're not willing to receive that, then you really got nobody to blame at the end of the day but yourself for not being in a clear-headed space to receive that information. I mean, it is what it is. I thought this one was interesting. I'm really curious to know what y'all think. Y'all could disagree with me. That's what this platform is here for. It's not just for me to get on here and talk shit day in and day out. It's really for conversations to be started, because these are the discussions that, whether or not y'all want to face them, we got to deal with in our everyday relationships, friendships, romantically charged relationships, whatever the relationship is. It's all about relationships, and it's all about communication. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. Let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace and love.